Good evening. You're listening live to the Xtreme Movie Show. I'm your host, Rob, broadcasting to you just west of Orlando, Florida, in the Pineless Palace. I'm in the Xtreme Studios, and I have from the Great Midwest joining me tonight to cover Season 2, Episode 6 of The Old Man. I have one RDV, and RDV, as we're ramping down Season 2 here of The Old Man, this Jeff Bridges show, we like to call it a political thriller that has action elements in it. You almost forget these guys are 70-plus years old in there, including John Lithgow. We get Zoe, who, I'm not a fan of, and that has to get mentioned. But they decided to, in case you forgot, there was an assassin that gets introduced early on here that has a little bit of a romance going on with somebody he meets at a bus stop. So they're intentionally introducing some other characters here, which I think is an interesting turn, considering we're getting towards the end where I feel like things are supposed to be building up for the end of this episode. What's your take?
Well, yeah, you bring up the assassin, Julian. Who worked for Morgan Boats first season, was even involved when they had Emily, they were in Afghanistan or whatever country they were in last season, and his buddy gets shot. So he ends up just like saying, "I'm done with everything," and quits. Stops working for Morgan Boats. So they really purposely they had show him. Remember he used to work as a nurse. That was his front job. So he's sitting at the bus stop in the rain where he was. And then this girl walks up. Jessica Parker Kennedy is the actress, girl who played on the Flash, Barry Allen's daughter, XIII. She comes up to him and starts a conversation. You can tell right there. She literally likes him. She attracted him because he was nice to her when she had crutches the last time they met in the first season. He helped her get on the bus. And so they start talking, and then they show a little montage of them starting to go on dates, and this restaurant. It's really cool how they shoot that. I love this. They're just sitting in the restaurant, and whether it's night or day, whatever, their clothes change.
It's a nice way of showing that. Absolutely. Yeah. Their dialogue was a little cringy, I think, but the way they're just showing them talking without hearing it, and the way they reach out, start to hold each other's hands kind of spontaneously, that looked realistic to me.
Yeah, and the montage isn't really nothing new. We've seen that before in other stuff.
But not a romance montage.
No.
Yeah.
At least, I'm talking about outside of the show.
I know.
But
montages are great if done correctly.
Yes.
Thank you, 1980s.
Yes. Yes. Usually people are trying on clothes. It's a fashion thing.
That's a good call.
Yeah.
I like where your head is at, sir.
Yes.
But let me ask you this, seriously. I thought this was an interesting development and it had me curious about this episode, unlike the rest of it, which we'll get into here in a moment. I don't know if they're trying to make you as a viewer feel sympathetic to this hitman who obviously his day job was not hitting people and whacking them. It was, he was undercover as a nurse and trying to show this human side to him because, hey, when you're not killing people, what do you do? Well, I'm a nurse, so I quit my job. Now obviously when they met, she was on crutches, right? I think it was, and all that. Now she's off crutches, so it does show the passage of time. It is a very good way of introducing it. But now are we supposed to care about this guy and think he's a good guy? I don't know.
Now I'll piggyback off that. My point of view from this, they don't really want you to feel sorry for this guy because Morgan Boats is painted as the bad guy, the guy that controls you. Once you're in his cross sites, you're his pawn. And then this really is his hit. That point is really hit down, on the head of the nail with a hammer by John Lithgow later when he approaches him. And he's like, dude, it's like, I understand you want to lie, but at the same time, it's like you've grown affection for this guy, even though you hate him. I was the same way, and I really don't give a crap what you do with your life. But obviously, Morgan Boats built a wall around you to keep, anybody from finding out who you were. So you have a normal life and stuff. And with him being dead, those cracks are going to start coming apart because he said, how the hell did I find you? And he says, I can, if you let me know, because obviously he sent you an email and this guy keeps dying. Like Julian's like, I didn't get an email. I'm done with this. He's like, hey, it's like, I can help you keep living a normal life. That girl you're seeing, you allow you to be able to see her, and not worry about anybody trying to kill you. As long as you help me, I'll help you. And he's like, be smart about it. It's like, I don't care if you date the girl, whatever you do. It's like, I just want, my life is falling apart because of this bullshit, and yours is going to fall apart soon. So I love this. It's like John Lithgow.
This is a good scene. because it does show
Yeah.
John Lithgow, Harold, I think is his name, his character, because
Yeah.
he's the kind of guy that wants to problem solve and talk, and he takes the diplomatic front first, usually. And I appreciate it because a part of me goes, what if Julian said, well, fuck you, get out?
Yeah. Well, I like because when Julian first meets him, is like he's in Harold is like just sitting in his chair, like all badass, something that Dan Chase would do, or James Bond, you know.
Yeah, right out of Doctor No, though, one of the first times we've
it's
seen
like,
it.
It's like greeting you. It's like, but it works. I love spy stuff. I mean,
and John Lithgow is so good as an actor. The way his character come across, it's like you believe him. He's like, you know what, you're making a lot of valid points here. I agree. Hold on a second. Let me show you what's on my phone. It comes to that, right?
Yeah. So he just wants to know what's on the email because apparently it's important that he sent it to you and he wants to know what's on. And the guy says, well, I deleted it. But that's when so when they eventually go and meet him up again, he's like, and they get in a little conversation, but then he's like, so and that's what he says to him. He's like, yeah, before when I mentioned, it's like someone taking a whack and killing the old man is personal to you, because and he doesn't say to go on and say it's because you want to do it yourself. No, it's because you built up this weird bond. So obviously what you said was important. So then he's like, the guy says, well, yeah. So he says, I deleted it, but I lied. I undeleted it. So he gets the paper, and this is a game changer for this whole entire thing because what the picture he sent was his ex-wife Meredith.
Dun, 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 dun.
Hanging out with the Russian guy, the one who both supposedly is now moved in after the lithium deposits, and supposedly has killed Emily, Jan Chase's daughter, and
allegedly.
Yeah, so I don't think she's dead, but it does work because now Jan Chase, Jeff Bridges, is a little bit unstable because you see him in this episode. He's having a little bit panic attacks. They basically those two, Zoe and Dan, go to London. They're going to meet with Diane Kruger, I think her name is, or someone lawyer, Hamzad's lawyer, Nina Kruger, and they go. And when they're at the hotel, they're supposed to meet her. She doesn't show up. So then they call his assistants, just and it's like, oh, she's only taking a personal thing. So this is where we start getting like the cool, like sciencey, like James Bond stuff. They go hardware shopping. I love this,
and yeah, that was kind of funny.
and now, as much as people may not like Zoe made a crack. He's like, I'll try to get right. She tries to says like, I thought I was in the game, because Margaret Boats taught me some stuff. But obviously, you're miles ahead. Like the past 3 days, it's you planned all this out. What we're gonna do here? I had no idea. I thought I was in the inn, but I'm still on the outside. And apart from her saying, "Woe is me, I break things because I'm a horrible person." Blah blah blah. Whatever. He builds like a little basically like a spy device. Remember, usually you'd see this, people have a headset and then they have a little radio thing, like a little dish gun. He builds it out of like a hedge trimmer and all this other stuff. And then, so basically he goes there because they're old school. I love this. They're in an apartment across the street. Zoe stays there. She's got like a little sniper rifle and she's got the little thing and just hook up to Peter and she's aiming it towards the apartment where the Diane Kruger's assistant is. Meanwhile, Dan Chase goes across and he walks up to the girl. He's like, "Excuse me." He's like, "I see the loss. Can't find. I'm trying to find my friend's apartment stuff." But then he walks closer to her, and you get to see how imposing this guy is. He's tall, and he's kind of quiet and stuff. And then she starts freaking out a little bit and stuff.
Yep, this is a good scene.
I love it because he literally just says, "It's like I'm looking for a friend." He's like, "Oh yeah." It's like, have you seen her, Diane Kruger? And she's, oh shit. She goes inside her apartment and then he basically wanted this, because he tells like, "Hey, if I can find you, other people can find you." Same bullshit with Harold,
Mm-hmm.
It's like, he says, "This is a courtesy I'm doing to you,"
Right.
Yeah.
No, this is a good scene because you see him doing something that
Yeah.
Normally, he's the guy that busts your ass and tortures you, right?
Yep.
This shotgun mic thing he builds and puts together and has her record it. That's a good use of Amy's character. I
Yeah.
still am sick and tired of her. I just don't like how she's used. I don't like her being a part of any of this stuff. I don't like how the dogs responded to her. It's infuriating to me. Didn't she get a whole bunch of his money too or something? I don't know.
She did. Last season, she stole some money from him.
The
Basically,
only reason why she exists is
blackmailed
to
him.
give him somebody to play off of, to have scenes like this, and
Yeah.
I resent that as a viewer. I do. I'm being
Well,
honest.
they're slowly building them to be like not lovers, more so like a companion for him because he's lonely.
All he needed was the dogs.
I know, right?
No, but I mean, this is a good scene. Like I
Yeah.
say, it's a good use of her, right? And here's the thing, though. She says, I think on more than one occasion, that like, hey, I like to break things, because that's how we know
Yeah.
these two. One's the diplomat, one's the breaker, and that's why they're a good team. They're flip sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
So you're trying to basically say, hey, she's supposed to be like that, but wait a minute,
So-
can't she be? If she's just like him, that's two people doing the same thing. She's not trustworthy.
What's great about this is at the end, after they get the information, he goes in the room. He's like, got the caller. He's like, and yeah, she says, I break things. He's like, well, and he brings up, and this we get another story about Dan Chase, is from his past with Abby. He's like, one time I broke a dish, and she says, basically it's like, a person basically who breaks things, does not belong in the house, belongs outside with the animals.
Mm-hmm.
And a metaphor being, it sounded like he has an anger problem. He couldn't leave his past behind him. So Abby said, if you can't leave it, get out.
Mm-hmm.
So he's kind of like he says you and I are very similar on that, but and it's also a response to him to say, he's like, I'm angry now, but I'm going to save the anger because it'll come handy when I go to kill the son of a bitch that killed my daughter, pretty much, the Russian.
Yeah.
But they end up using that. They get a number, or Diana Kruger, because they call her. She shows up. The door is ajar. He walks in, sees her kind of like convulsing, gasping for air in her chair. There's football on. Yeah, it's not American football. Soccer is on. And then he sees someone, because she kind of leans over. He's like, and there's someone in the house, in the kitchen over there. And he approaches the dude. The dude's got a face mask on. And he's like, oh, shit. You're like, okay, he's got a face mask on. She's gasping for air. You're like, oh, my gosh. Did someone use like some kind of chemical warfare or something like that? A biological thing. But he sees the gun on the ground next to the guy. The guy's back turned to him. He grabs the cane slowly, and then he just knocks the glasses over. Everything you see when you first walk in that room, you see the glasses, champagne glasses. So everything has a part. And I love how they use it. He waxes the glasses, sends the glass flying into the guy's face. Mm-hmm. Then they battle a bit. The guy is trying to pull a knife out. You see the knife, it's close up with a zoom of the knife. I always love that when you see the movies. Like they focus on the weapon and then they start fighting. And then he ends up like killing the guy, shooting him, quickly grabbing the gun, putting two on him, reaches in his pocket and realizes that there's a syringe in there. But when they finally show, like, they pull Nina out, she's leaning up, and she's like, hey, like, it's check my study there because there's a safe there with a thumb drive. But before this, when he came out gasping, Amy, Brennan, and her characters here, Zoe, what's wrong? He's like, get the fuck back, bitch. I got kind of toxic. I was exposed to some kind of toxin possibly too. And she's like, what? And she still takes another step forward. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I didn't like any of this. I didn't like the fact they're looking for the flash drive. This just felt like really bad writing, just kind of like piece shit together sort of stuff.
It's kind of like
what makes the episode work, which is more interactions between the people, the family stuff we talked about.
Yeah, there was no. I mean, this is basically going. Last week was kind of a standalone, not really filler, but it was all filmed in one spot. This is more of a James Bond stuff. There was some action. And you get the thumb drive. Now you got this. Honestly, this is what modern James Bonds become. When I read comic books or watch the movies, it's slow paced like this. It's just like you're getting, instead of getting the full 3-hour movie, you're getting like 30 minutes. So it's annoying because you want this, watch it. So I would recommend anybody who's watching this show this season, wait till it's over and then binge it because I think it'll run a lot smoother.
I'm going to agree with you on that because that's kind of how we wanted to approach season one in a sense. And I know there's been like maybe about a 2-year delay between 1 and 2. I think it's been worth it in the sense that it's worth watching, if nothing more, for the fact that it's got 2 incredible actors in it that you understand what their characters are, even if you feel like some of the plot stuff is just simply that you don't give a shit about it. Like I really don't. I don't care about what happened 30, 40 years ago. It really shines when they're talking about intra-family dynamics and how these bigger political things just get in the way of it. When they stray from that, I feel like it doesn't do a good job. Like I said, I cannot stand Zoe as a character. I think it's just a joke of a character. That to me is the number one thing about this that really brings it down. Her daughter, even though we mentioned her in season one, we're like, man, didn't quite see that coming where she'd become what she is. We thought that was a great positive development. I do like how they introduced, I think it's Julian, the assassin here, back into it. And again, I don't want to be feeling sympathetic towards him or like that because he's a hit guy or whatever, but I do like how the actor's playing it off, because he could very easily brush off the woman and introducing her into it with them having their little romance montage is good, because that's what this comes down to. It's about your relationships, usually with a woman, but sometimes with a guy in terms of work. And I think trying to balance those two is kind of an interesting thing. That's why we call us the old man. We don't know if it's a specific reference. I'm wondering if the writers are trying to be cute and go, no, it just means anybody that's got experience, they'll all be old in one day.
I'm gonna point out everyone in this episode or this show is a criminal. None of them are heroes. So if you're looking for someone to root for, this isn't the show for you. Just like I tell people, I love there's a book by Edward Baker. It's called Criminal, and each volume deals with this guy's point of view, and they're never nice guys, and they don't always survive at the end. No, that's the point. You're not really supposed to root for them. But the way that's written, you kind of do feel a little bad for them because they're not complete shitheads, but they are. But like I said, I love when you can tug and like Julian. I know Julian's a piece of shit, It's like but the guy's trying to leave that life behind, and you don't know the reason why he got in there. Maybe he's blackmailed by Margaret Bolts, because that's his dirty CIA, shit like this.
Right.
Dan Chase, is somewhat more of the guy you kind of want to root for, but he's got his own shit in his own closet. He made this mess by kidnapping, or helping Abby leave and stuff. Zoe is just alcoholic / she has mental issues. She needs to go see a therapist or a psychiatrist. She has issues, and honestly, her and Dan Chase are a match for each other, whether you like the character or not. They are, because they're basically like two AA people getting together. That's what I'm trying to say.
Right.
They're not good for each other, but they are. Like if you met someone, you have an addiction. You met another person who has an addiction, and
okay, I'll buy that explanation.
And they're trying to basically like fix each other without relapsing.
Right.
And obviously. He listened to his daughter get murdered, supposedly. And I say murdered with quotes because I don't believe she's dead. But you can see it's mentally affecting him. They go into, especially when they get into the hotel room, and he's standing in the hallway and he starts having flashbacks. Not flashbacks, but basically he's just kind of having his eye attack, and he hears the last phone call with his daughter, the gunfire, and then her screaming, and then just like, it's like, and he mentions like, it's like, because she notices it too. He's like, I can't shake this feeling. And it's like, and she's like, yeah, the anger is like, I need to get rid of it, but I also need it for later on, so he's there. So he's constantly taking a sip of brandy or whatever, scotch, trying to calm his nerves. But like, he's they say too emotional. He shouldn't be on this mission,
Well, again, like I say, the episode works best when it's these guys kind of talking with each other. I still remember the first scene in the first episode of season 1 where you see him walking up with his dogs, as an old man, and you don't know who he is, yet he can see stuff, and it's kind of cool. But when him and John Lithgow are talking, and it feels like it's them versus the world, and the world's too big for them. How can we extricate ourselves from it and have a life? I think it really shines. This episode, you don't see a lot of it. You see a few things that hint towards it, but it's starting to feel like it's building towards the end, which it should be at this particular point. A decent episode, one that I'm not crazy about, especially after the past few. I thought have been pretty solid, but I do like the fact they're planting some firm stakes to the ground, whether I like them or not, or appreciate them or not. We'll see how those play out. The writers are doing everything deliberate, and I do respect that.
Yeah. So the reason I chose this little photo down here, this towards the end, is when they get the thumb drive suits on there, they realize, and that Diana Kruger basically had said, "Hey, there's not the only lithium pocket. There's several lithium pockets or rare earth material, materials, around the world, and they all want to pull together and say F you to everyone else."
Yep.
And so now it's like a globalist conspiracy. Now it's like
Goldfinger.
Yeah.
Back where we're on the gold standard. You nuke all the gold to Fort Knox, everything else becomes more valuable.
Yep. Or more like it's like they're trying to build a utopia outside of the normal. Watch society collapse, and you keep your own earth materials, and then you're able to survive. So it's
that's like very communist of the bad guys involved, though. If you know what I'm saying.
The main bad guy who took on the Hamzad, and where Abby was, or not Abby, but Emily.
Mm-hmm.
Is like he's the Russian. So why would you not have like grand desires or whatever you call that is, designs for like everything? It's like Moonraker, bro. In a sense,
you could argue Moonraker was a eugenics kind of thing.
I also want to point out this reminds me of 3 Days of Condor.
A little bit.
Whoever controls the oil controls the world.
That's right. It's all a game of resources, sir.
Yes.
Seriously.
So I like that. So, man, and you guys have not checked out 3 Days of the Condor with Robert Redford and Faye Dunaway, I think it was. Was it Faye Dunaway or who was? No, it was Margaret Fairchild.
No.
Was it Faye Dunaway?
I want to say yes. I don't have it up in front of me.
Yeah. But very good movie. And then if you can ever find the show access to it, it's called Condor. It was on DirecTV. Went for like 2 seasons and never hit DVD or Blu-ray, which really sucks. So it's kind of like lost in like TV limbo. So maybe Internet Archive will get it. But I love spy shows. Like I said, this is still a spy show. It's not a complete action show. So if you're expecting this to be a complete action and not just a dialogue show, well, we've had action in this season already. It's just that they are saving that, building it up towards the end. I think the last episode definitely is gonna this next episode is gonna be landing a huge cliffhanger, and then we get that final episode of the season. I think it's gonna go out like a line. It's not gonna whimper. I don't think they're gonna do that because the way they did the first season was really well. So
yeah. Well, we'll see. I'm sure they're writing with an end in mind, even if they get an extra season or two to tell their story. So I think that's pretty cool. We'll see how that goes next week. What do we got coming up next?
Well, next, we're going to end it right here, but stay tuned on the channel. We're actually going to be talking about The Wolfman, our 3rd review on the channel, at least my 3rd review.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, so
check that stream out, guys. We'll see you then. Thanks for watching, listening. Let everybody know that we exist, spending some time with us during the holiday season, as it were, here in Halloween. Good night now.
Later, guys.